Get my 6. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Homesteading Off the Grid. Get R6 too. You like these little guys? I did this. Like the title says, I did this. This is one of the things I did. I just finished these. I was out in the wood shop. These are wood slice or wood cookie snowman ornaments I made for Christmas. And yes, of course, they're in the Etsy store, but I perfectly intend to give more of these away than I sell, I'm sure. And that doesn't bother me a bit for several reasons. I'm going to tell you why. I had so much fun for the month of October coming out here and reading stories and from October Nights Part 2, 31 more tales for the Halloween season. I want to thank the several thousand of you who consistently join me for that. Thank you for all your kind comments on my writing and how far it's come and how good it is and all that stuff. Please don't stop with those comments. I do appreciate them. But there towards the end of the month, I started doing that thing where, because as you know, if you submit, you can submit a story of your real experiences with anything paranormal related to the channel here. The email address is crazylake@mail.com. People have been doing that for several months, and there at the very end of October, I started just having a random drawing there every day and giving away something I had made in the wood shop with it was the Christmas decorations. Many of you watch, or not Christmas, but Halloween decorations. Many of you watching won those things, and FYI, those of you who were the final winners, the last 3 or 4, probably got the email today. We have packed and printed shipping labels for that. They're going out tomorrow. As of this recording, you'll have them soon. That was so much fun. I want to continue it. So the other day, I made the snowman, and I showed you guys. Where is he? Get my 6. And again, wood slices, have a stabilizer back here. It is flush. It sits on a bookshelf or a table, whatever. This one's been sitting on Dearly's desk for the last few days since I made it. I actually today I made several more of these, slightly different styles with the facial features, and then I've got a bunch of different Christmas ribbon I ordered and stuff that I'm using that I'm using for scarves. So they all are a little bit different, a little bit unique in their own way. Certainly come a long way from this. Remember this? A couple years ago we started making these and selling these. Yeah, we've advanced. These are still in the Etsy store too. So that stuff is going to be in the Etsy store, but again, I'm thinking, and I'm kind of thinking out loud here, like Ed Sheeran says, I'm thinking out loud. Of course, he sings it much more beautifully than me. About at least once a week, I was thinking maybe like Friday Night Frights, coming on the channel and reading several stories that have been submitted, or maybe some of my other stories you've never heard, and giving away, some of this kind of stuff. Maybe a snowman, maybe the set of 4 snowman wood slice faces I just showed you in drawing fashion, like we've been doing, to somebody randomly picked who has submitted a story for as of now, what would be True Hauntings Volume 3, as True Hauntings Volume 2 is now in circulation. It's available on Amazon in Kindle or print. I have ordered a couple dozen print copies, so if you want to hold off for autographed copies from the Etsy store, they'll be here maybe another week or so. But anyway, all that off to the side. I hope you like my choice of setup for today's video. This beautiful tree right here, I wanted to capture this in the backdrop of the video. This is a peach tree. There's actually 2 of them. There's a smaller one here, and then there's a larger one here. And these are all the leaves from the peach tree that have fallen just in the last couple of days. Here's a banana tree back here, and our pond's back here. Of course, the property goes out to the forest. We're usually way up there in the campground, way back behind the house. But this is so beautiful, and it only looks like this a few days out of the year, first week of November. Here in just a few more days, these leaves will be gone. I wanted to capture this on film as well, so that when we all look back years from now, especially my family and myself look back, we say, oh gosh, yeah, I remember that. So that's why we're set up right here. Now, I want to show you something that is, I'll tell you, I've talked about it before on the channel, and yes, I'm getting to it. I did this, she did that, and then she made me cry. You crazy, why don't you just say what you mean in the titles? Because it's social media, brah. It's social media. It's not me. Whatever. No more lessons in that for now. You want to see something my wife did. This is what she did a couple years ago. And then I'm going to get into the topic, the subject of today's matter, okay? She did this oil painting. Check this out. Isn't this nice? It's like a cabin on a lake or a river. There's a full moon. It's autumn. It's nighttime. We've got this hanging in our house. Let's see, where's our living room? I don't want to give it away to any voyeurs out there, peeping toms, but whatever, you're coming around anyway if you're like that. One of these windows down here is the living room, and this hangs on the wall as you start to go up the stairs into the upstairs. And I was sitting there this morning, drinking my coffee, my first cup of coffee at like 5 a.m., getting ready to go upstairs with my coffee and my totally awesome double insulated line Stanley trigger action travel thermos mug thing that dozens of you have bought from the Amazon links I've been putting in the description box. Thank you, by the way, for that. Got to get paid. And I thought of several things. I thought it's so amazing how this picture that my wife painted, dearly did this. It was a paint by numbers oil painting that she got off of Amazon, actually. She did it a couple of years ago. And I thought, how ironic that our property actually very, very closely resembles that. And then I started thinking about, I bet you there are so many adults of all ages, and perhaps particularly in the retirement community, who do this. I know a few years ago, coloring books for adults came out, and they were really big. And I was amazed by how many people I knew that were getting into that. Dearly actually did this and got into this for a while, and she's been saying she wants to get back into it by way of our friend Jenny Jo, who she's a good friend of ours, getting ready to have a baby here within the next 6 weeks, I think. We have a link to her channel in the description box too, because we like to support her, being that she's a close friend. Her husband's a close friend of ours. That's where we kind of got turned on to the oil painting thing, because the first time we went to Jenny Jo's house and her husband's house and her son's house, soon to be another child's house, daughter, she's having a girl, there were all these beautiful oil paintings on the walls, and we were looking at them like we were in an art gallery. And I remember asking Jenny Jo what the significance was. Like, what does this piece mean to you? Or do these pieces mean something to you? And she said, yeah, I painted them all. And I was like, what? Some of them were paint by numbers. I think most of them were, but some of them weren't. She had taken classes, and her and my wife dearly went. They did an oil painting class with about half a dozen of their friends. So I was sitting there this morning, drinking my coffee, looking at that, thinking, I wonder how many people do that. And then so after my first cup, I was upstairs by now, dumping my still piping hot second cup from the thermos into my mug. And I got online, and I'm making my to-dos for the day, all the things I got to do. And I checked my new dashboard for the Amazon affiliate thing I just signed up. Folks, I'm amazed at how this works. And yeah, I guess I'm kind of kicking myself in the backside a little bit for not having done this before. I had no clue just exactly how this works. Like in the last 24 hours, it only updates every 24 hours. But there were like more than a dozen sales attributed to my dashboard that I got credit for, that were products people bought. There's these hawks hunting around here today, so that's what you're hearing. They're here every day hunting. That I never pitched. They're products I never pitched. And ironically, there were like 3 kits of paint by number oil paintings. Seriously. And so I've since found out how this worked because I looked into it today. But this is amazing. This is how this works. So again, thank you if you've been actually clicking on those links to Amazon. I think what's happening is a lot of you are going there. Like, let's say if I pitch the mug or something, or I say, get this mug. You say, I like Kevin. I want to support him. You go there, you look at the mug, and you're like, wow, that's a $40 mug or a $35 mug. And I bought mine years ago, 2018, 4 years. It still works great. But you're like, nah, I don't really want to spend $40 on that right now. Maybe at another time. But while I'm here on Amazon, I'm going to buy. And I can't tell who you are, so don't freak out. I cannot tell who's buying this stuff. But somebody out there, if you want to put it in the comments section, say, hey, that was me that bought the charcoal toothpaste, feel free. You say, well, I don't want to buy the mug, but I've been meaning to buy some of that charcoal toothpaste for $8.39. So while I'm here on Amazon, I'm going to go over there and buy that. Sorry, Kevin, can't help you now, but I need my toothpaste. Thanks for reminding me. and you buy that toothpaste, I actually get credit for that. This is how it works. This is amazing. If this doesn't motivate some of you watching to go out there and start a YouTube channel, get involved with social media, you're nuts. I don't know how, because I've got friends that are like, man, I wish I could do what you do, just make 20-minute videos and blah, blah. I'm like, well, do it. And I offer to help them, and they're like, oh, nah, man. Whatever. Those were really frenemies, not friends. But here's how it works. The cookies thing, and forgive the noise. I'm closer to the road than usual. That's why I always make the videos back there ordinarily. But if you go to Amazon by way of one of my links in the description box below, and then within the next 24 hours you buy anything on Amazon, well, your first purchase, at least, this only works on one purchase. Let's say you go there, you look at the mug, you don't want to part with $40 for the mug, but you go over and you buy the charcoal toothpaste. I actually get a commission for that. It's small, it's like 4%, I think, but still, that all adds up. So I'm wondering, like, I'm looking at this thing in the mornings, where are these more than a dozen sales a night of products I'm not even pitching showing up on my dashboard? Well, that's how it's happening. Now, once you buy that charcoal toothpaste, if you go off and buy 5 or 6 other things, I don't get credit for that. It stops after that. It's that first purchase within a 24-hour period. And then if you say, nah, I'm going to hold off on the charcoal toothpaste as well. But then the next day you go, I'm going to get the toothpaste. You go back, more than 24 hours has passed, I don't get credit. So you want to help a brother out, go to Amazon. Whenever you want to go to Amazon to buy whatever, come to my channel, go to one of the videos like this one, bookmark it or whatever, and go through my link and then buy whatever it is you're trying to buy, and you're helping a brother out, and I appreciate it. So anyway, but again, I was amazed. Yeah, I know I get off on these sidebars. Some people love it, some people hate it. Somebody bought some of these yesterday, and to prove that I'm not making this up, if you did it and you don't mind sharing this information with people, please comment in the comment section, hey, that was me that bought those art kits. So, but that brings me to today's topic. Now that I'm almost 12 and a half minutes into this, just showing off what I made, what I did, what she did, my wife did. And yeah, I'm going to get to the part that made me cry, because it's part of and it's true. It's all true story. November 3, and it's in the 70s today. That's another reason I'm here, because I have shade right here. The sun's back there right now. It's literally too hot to be out in this long sleeve shirt. I made the firewood video yesterday. We have always started burning firewood the last week of September at night, because the nights get so cold. It is the first week of November. We have not had the first fire in the wood stove. What a warm year. All right, so listen. I randomly read an article last night about this new study that came out that has determined that 1 out of 8 untimely deaths among working aged people. They put this, I think, people ages 20 to 65. 1 out of 8 premature deaths or untimely deaths, unnecessary deaths, is because of excessive alcohol use, excessive alcohol drinking. Now, I'm not here to be an abolitionist, because I'm not an abolitionist. To each his own. Please do it responsibly. If you feel that it's getting out of hand, please get it in check. And I speak from tons of experience. I have a very unhealthy relationship with anything that makes me feel good, namely substances. And there have been times in my past when I have been a substance user, and it had evolved into me being a substance abuser. And then, of course, the next step from that is being addicted, be it alcohol or drugs, other substances. Now, does that necessarily make me an alcoholic or a drug addict? Once upon a time, I thought yes. I thought that was the answer. And a lot of that has to do with my upbringing, a lot of guilt shaming from the past, a lot of worst case scenario was always a situation for me type crap, and that's all it was. I know now the science states, and because the science has massively evolved since 2016, because they've actually put a lot of money into research with this stuff, habit, addiction, ism. No, I'm not. I'm not an alcoholic. I'm not a drug addict. There have been times in my life, in my past, when I have used habitually, and that habit became an addiction, and then I was in a situation where I needed to make a choice, and I did, and I made the right one, and here I am today, healthy, happy, not abusing anything. Now, does this mean that I'll never have another beer? Absolutely not. Does it mean I'll never partake in the sticky stuff again ever, which is legal in my state? Absolutely not. Does it mean I will? Absolutely not. Either way, it basically boils down to if I want to, I will. If I don't, I won't. And just for a considerable period of time, I've not wanted to, and I haven't. Now, with that said, I'm getting into what I did, what she did, and it made me cry. If you're new to my channel, you're like, man, this guy's talking about a billion different things that have nothing to do with each other, and especially what he said in the title. But if you've been here for a while, you know that it all ties together by the end and it all makes sense. So, I read that study last night, and I thought a lot about my past, and I thought a lot about people I know and people I have known who are in that situation, and just society as a whole. And again, I'm not judging. It's crazy, you know. You can abuse the hell out of Percocet, Percodan, Vicodin, all these opioids. As long as you have a prescription, well, hey, that's okay. But, you know, in states where the sticky stuff's still illegal, you have a, you know, you roll up and puff up a little bit, and you're of the devil. But alcohol, let's take a look at alcohol. As long as you're 21 or older, you can go get it anywhere. So society, American society doesn't have a problem, and this is how we do it in America. Monday through Friday, most folks just abstain, and then they go out on the weekends and drink a case of beer and wrap their car around a telephone pole. Or, unfortunately, and too many times, a family's minivan with the family in the minivan. This is how a lot of those 1 out of 8 premature deaths associated with alcohol in regard to working age people come about. Drinking and driving, you've got cirrhosis of the liver. As you get a little bit older, of course, the health complications become more of a concern. The DUI, or the drinking and driving death and accident, I don't even call it an accident, because if you make the choice to drive after you've been drinking, if anything happens, it's not an accident. It was planned. It was premeditated. That is just in my opinion. So anyway, that's where this stuff comes in. And that's where this stuff comes in. And that's where planting trees comes in. And that's where reading comes in. That's where writing comes in. That's where crocheting comes in. That's where fishing comes in. That's where bow hunting comes in. That's where all these little things that aren't necessary come in. What am I talking about? Guys, girls, I'm talking about hobbies. I'm talking about hobbies over habits. Because habits, this will sound redundant, being that they are habit forming, can become pretty serious addictions that can get out of control and can ruin your life. Now, I want to talk to you about a time. There was this guy, and I hate to use this guy as an example, but he's a perfect example of this. As you know, my family and I have literally planted over 2,000 trees on this property. I mean, these peach trees I showed you, we planted them when they were rootstock, about 1.5 feet tall. And one of the first peach trees we planted is about 25 feet tall now. We had pear trees this summer over here above the driveway. Let me give you a little show you. Oh my gosh, isn't this beautiful? Look at these burning bushes down here. Planted those when they were 1 foot tall. But these are pear trees right here, in between these locust trees. They had so many pears this summer that the fruit, the weight of the fruit weighed the limbs down, broke the limbs. We planted banana trees, just a few, so my wife could see them from all angles, whether from inside the house or outside the house. A lot of meticulous planning. I said that in the video yesterday about firewood. I think people thought I was joking. I wasn't. I've got it set up to where my beautiful bride Dearly, aka Giggly Girl, can see a banana tree from any angle where she is, from either in the house or out of the house, because they remind her of home, the Philippines. Okay, and I was away from my country for 8 years, and I know how important that is. So we would be planting these trees. We would be growing our gardens, which were mostly weed gardens, as you know, if you've followed us for. We are like we're good at getting it ready and planning. We just suck at the follow through. And every year we just say, next year will be the year. You know, we did good this year. Then we took a couple of weeks and ran off to the Grand Canyon and came home to our weed garden. And next year will be the year. But this one guy, he would come around, he'd pass by, or he'd see what we had going on. And you know, we'd be out there working all day in the garden. He'd stop by and he'd say stuff to the effect of, you know, vegetables are so cheap. You can get vegetables so cheap at the store. There's no need to spend all that time out there in the sun doing all that. It's hot and it's a lot of work. It's not really good for your back. And we'd be like, oh, well, yeah, we know vegetables are cheap, but we're not doing it to save money. I mean, yeah, we bought a $500,000 property. Well, it wasn't $500,000 then, but it is now. It's more than that. We got it for less than half that. This place is just, of course, all the work we've done has been part of the reason for the explosion in equity. But yeah, okay, so we bought a $250,000 property, but we can't afford green beans, dude. Really? Come on, we were doing it because we enjoyed doing it. We enjoyed it because it was our family doing something together. It was something physical. We're physical people. We love being active. Got us outside. And look at this. This place is gorgeous. How could you not just want to be out here all day? You know, I had my nap this afternoon, and it was in the hammock. Because on days like this, I don't even want to be inside to take my afternoon nap, which I cherish. Because I get up between 4:30 and 5 and work all day doing all kinds of stuff. Got to have that nap. Or, you know, I mow most of the property. I have trails I keep mowed down, and we were planting the trees and the privacy hedges. He'd watch me do that all day, and he'd stop by next time he stopped by. Never announce, never invite him, be like, you know, all that work you're doing on that property isn't really necessary. That's not really necessary. You could really get away with just mowing this little portion right here, right around your house, and just letting the rest go. And this isn't the hay collector. This was another annoying neighbor. I'd say like, well, yeah, but you know, I enjoy doing the work. And as a writer, and this is true, and I was jading to this guy, and I was always justifying, arguing, defending, and explaining why I was doing what I was doing. It's like, I enjoy it. And as a writer, that's when I have some very creative moments, that when I do my morning exercise, my run, my mountain bike or whatever. And it just looks nice. And I lived in third world countries for 10 years, and I missed beautiful scenery. And why would you buy 6 acres out in God's country with a view like this and not just take care of it, right? Well, just to speed up to the point, because we're 22 and a half minutes into this, this guy, he was lazy. He didn't work at all. He was very sociopathic. He would figure out how to take advantage of other people to get what he needed. And what it boiled down to was that the more work he saw me do, the more lazy it made him feel, and the more it kind of highlighted what he didn't do. But then you think, well, what was he doing with his time, though? I mean, we all have 24 hours in a day. We all just choose to use it differently. Well, this guy, he was a day drinker. I mean, he'd stay home and his wife would go off to work. And you remember that story from October Nights Part 2, the unfortunate demise of Uncle Gimpy? Think Uncle Gimpy. I mean, he was an Uncle Gimpy. He was one of these beta males who was probably a mama's boy growing up. And then once he got old enough, like in that one story, the haunted porch swing from October Nights Part 2, he had to transition from mama being the nurturing, caring, providing strong female in his life to wifey. So he went and he got one of these women that work, but obviously has no self-esteem or confidence in regard to her choice of a mate. So she would tolerate it. But how he would spend his time? Day drinking. I mean, 10:30, 11 o'clock in the morning, crack the can open. And so anyway, this guy would come around, he did this, and he got in my head after a while. And I'd had all the trees planted, had the gardens made, and he had reached the point of guilt shaming me for me keeping my property looking so pristine and so beautiful. And I started thinking, you know, I am getting older. Dude had rented space in my head without paying the bill. Okay, rent free in my head. This is an admission. I thought, you know, maybe he's right. Maybe I should just sit back here, crack open a beer on one of these hot June or July afternoons in the summer and watch some of this stuff I planted grow instead of going out there and pruning it or trimming it. You know, it's too hot to work in the sun anyway. And gosh, I'm almost 50. Maybe I should just... So I started doing that. And it became habitual. And it became addicting. And after just a few months, I found myself doing it more frequently than I was comfortable with doing it, as frequently as I had at times in the past, years ago. And I was like, oh, snap. Now what? Well, the answer, of course, was stop. But I had that big aha moment. I realized, aha. Listen, we've heard it said, idle hands will do the devil's work, right? It's not that I'm saying having a beer is the devil's work, because it's not. You know, puff, puff, pass, whatever. If you are participating recreationally and you're meeting your responsibilities and your obligations, you're providing for your family, you are not driving while you're under the influence, and you're not doing major damage to your health or your life situation by doing it too frequently and too high of an amount, I'm all for it, brah. But I had gone past that point, and basically I had begun to live the way this guy was living, minus the whole I still worked and I still earned and I still provided, because Dearly earns. She does stuff on Etsy. She's got her lumpia and her peanuts, which she's always telling me to plug, and I always forget to. So go to Etsy and buy her lumpia and her peanuts. She makes way more money than this guy did doing that. But listen, my whole life I've never expected anyone else to take care of me, and that's just not my MO. So fortunately I did snap out of it. And my point is this. If you have something you enjoy doing, and I've talked about this before, and it's non-harmful, even though it may be time consuming, hey, you go out there and do it. Do you want to know how long it took me to make these things? They look very simple, and they are. And I guess since I'm an Amazon affiliate now, I'm going to have to put links to what I use down there in the description box. But I make the cuttings, the wood cookies. This is gray birch from a gray birch tree that fell and died up on the top part of the property there last year. It's nice and dry now. I cut them a little bit thicker than a lot of people do, so that when I drill the hole through them to put the twine through, they don't crack, and also so they'll last longer. This is untreated wood, and so it will continue to dry, and they do get what's called checks. By making them thicker, they should last many, many years instead of just maybe a year or two. Acrylic paint, and I bought a set of colored permanent markers like Sharpies, but it's an off-brand because I'm thrifty. I'll put the thrifty brand in there for you. I think it's got like 24 different colors in it. But what is a better use of my time? Or let me ask you this. What is a worse use of my time? Hanging out in my wood shop and making these things that are probably not going to sell on Etsy, but which will be given away to people who send their ghost stories in to the channel at crazylake@mail.com, crazylake@mail.com, and win the drawing and get these sent to them for free. I mean, I pay the shipping and everything. And by the way, go get True Hauntings Volume 2 right now on Amazon. My link's in the description box below. And if you don't want that, go there and get whatever you're going to buy on Amazon anyway. Got to get paid! Or is the worst use of my time sitting around drinking and drugging until it becomes a habit, until it becomes an addiction, until it potentially becomes my end. So if it's woodwork, if it's painting, if it's reading my awesome books or others. And here comes a time where she made me cry, and then she made me cry. Got to wrap it up. Told Dearly, I'm going to go outside and make about a 12-minute long video, and now I see we're getting close to 30 minutes again. That's another neighbor of mine across the way there. He keeps his property pristine like mine as well. He doesn't have to get out there and blow those leaves right now. It could be unnecessary because more leaves are just going to fall. But you know what? He likes to do it. You should see his place. It looks like a resort. And that's better than him sitting around day drinking doing nothing other than killing himself, right? So guys, I'm going to recommend a book to you. I recommend books several times a year on this channel. You know who made me cry? I want to pronounce her name right. Delia Owens. Look at this. The author of this book. I know there are those among you watching this that's already read it, Where the Crawdads Sing, Delia Owens. I had not had a cathartic moment from literature in a couple of years. And then I read this book. They've made a blockbuster movie out of it. Delia Owens is a scientist. She's had several international bestsellers in the realm of nonfiction. This is her first work of fiction. This is a novel, and I think it went to #1. It's a worldwide bestseller and now a movie. Heart-wrenching story about this little girl. They call her the Marsh Girl. in the story. She lived out in the marshes of North Carolina with a very abusive father, a very mentally ill mother, several siblings, I think 2 brothers, 2 sisters. Now, I'm not going to give you spoilers. I'm not going to give the story away, but I want to tell you what it's about. Highly recommend it. I'll put the link to this in the Amazon. Yeah, you know, gotta get paid. All right, so in print or Kindle, you can get it. Her mother just has had enough of her father's abuse. He's physical. The mother, well, I don't want to give that away either. She leaves. And so the father turns his abuse onto the children. One by one, they leave until nobody's left except this little girl. When she's left all alone in that cabin to fend for herself in the marshes of North Carolina, I think she's 7 or 8 years old. The townspeople just view her as a freak. She's able to hide the fact for some time that even her father leaves and never comes back. And it doesn't really say whether he died or just disappeared. He's just gone. But she raises herself. She's a woman of the wilderness, this young girl. She knows how to survive out there. Time marches on. She grows up and she becomes a woman, and she becomes a very beautiful woman. And the townspeople take note, not just the young men now who would like to have their way with her, but also the women associated with these young men, be it their fiancés, their wives, their mothers, who don't want their sons being with that swamp trash, as they call her. And some crap goes down. There is assault. There is a death that may be murder, might be accidental. Let me tell you what, this author, the woman that wrote this book, writes in such a way that I've never read. Once the crap goes down, each chapter sort of introduces a new character or brings back an old one, and I was convinced he did it. Until I read the next chapter. Then I'm like, she did it. And you don't know. You get to the very end, it's like, oh, no one did it. And then it's like at the very last paragraph, it's like, oh my God, I can't believe that's how it all happened. This is by far one of the best books I've read in years. I highly recommend it. As much as I recommend painting by numbers, as much as I recommend woodworking if that's your thing, as much as I recommend taking care of your property, like getting out there and cleaning off your leaves, planting your trees. Again, I'm not religious, so I'm not going to say that idle hands will do the devil's work, but I'll tell you, a life without purpose and a life lived without the pursuit of hobbies will become a life deeply in the pursuit of habits, which can become addictions, which can become deadly. And I mean, just complete worthless use of time and life. So I hope you got something out of this video. It ended up being more like one of those old morning rambles I used to do years ago. Hope you enjoyed the view of the peach trees. See you for more next time.